Welcome learners. This week we are going to discuss from block 2, that is on tribal policies and legislations, from unit 4, and the topic today we are going to discuss is international conventions and covenants. Let us look at the objectives of this unit. In this unit we shall discuss various international conventions and covenants in view of the tribes, indigenous people across the world. United Nations organization is an international institution which has played a significant role on the question of survival, livelihood, development and identity assertion of the tribes, indigenous people. After going through this unit, you will learn about the interventions of the UNO for the preservation, promotion and protection of the indigenous people across the world. You will also learn about the International Labour Organization Convention 107 and 169. The learner would also know about the International Indigenous People Decades, and also you will learn the issues of indigenous people in Asia and India. So before going into the unit, first of all we should know what is convention and the meaning of covenant. Convention means it is a binding agreement between states which is used synonymously with treaty and covenant. The conventions are stronger than declarations because they are legally binding for governments that have signed them. When the UN General Assembly adopts a convention, it creates international norms and standards. And what is covenant? It is a solemn promise to engage in or refrain from specified action. So it is an agreement. Now we know that the indigenous people, they are spread across the world. There are about 300 million indigenous people across more than 70 countries, of whom approximately 70% live in Asia. About 8.6% Indian population are indigenous people. They are not always numerical minorities. They speak more than 5,000 languages, half of which are likely to disappear maybe in a very short time. So they maintain a distinct identity and culture. They hold a distinct worldview. Indigenous people are distinct people who subscribe to different development paradigm. They are increasingly asserting their rights which historically have been denied to them. The indigenous people today, they remain poor and uprooted from their physical and cultural customary resource base. They also suffer from various health epidemics. They are also exposed to armed conflicts, and they are the worst affected by climate change. The use of term indigenous people for certain groups of people, it has been controversial. Zaxa says that there was no problem in using the expression before, but there is a contestation now in the use of the term. He draws our attention to the fact that the concept of indigenous people primarily came from international agencies such as the ILO and UNO that have worked much of the available literature on them. The term indigenous people was used for the first time in the year 1957 in ILO Convention 107. It gained wide currency with the declaration of the International Year of the Indigenous People in 1993. Now, the focus on indigenous people is traced back to 1960s. The process of decolonization led to renewed emphasis on people right to self-determination, creating a larger political space in which new groups could begin to assert themselves in the new political mainstream. Anti-racism and women's movement in the West, through their defense of diversity, paved the way for an incipient indigenous movement. In the year 1977, the first non-government organization conference took place on the discrimination against indigenous population. In the year 1978, a special rapporteur on discrimination against indigenous people came out with a report. While ILO had started revising the 107 Convention on Indigenous People and Tribal People in the year 1982, there was engagement of the United Nations system through setting up of the Working Group on Indigenous Population. The group also began to employ the working definition of indigenous people, which was developed in the year 1972 by Martin Skobo, a special rapporteur of the UNO. In the year 1986, Skobo, in his final report, Study of the Problems of Discrimination Against Indigenous Population, defined indigenous people as indigenous communities, people and nations are those which, having a historical continuity with pre-invasion and pre-colonial societies that developed on their territories, consider themselves distinct from other sections of the societies now prevailing in those territories or parts of them. They form at present non-dominant sector of society and are determined to preserve, develop and transmit to future generations their ancestral territories and their ethnic identity as the basis their continued existence as people in accordance with their own cultural patterns, social institutions and legal systems. So, when we see this definition, there are three important aspects: existence before the onslaught of colonization, and we also see there is a distinct socio-cultural, historical, economic and political identity, and we also see through this definition there is a belonging to a non-dominant society. Now, let us see in detail the indigenous people and interventions of the UNO. The first international decade of the world's indigenous people was barely over. The United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 59-174 on 20 December 2004, proclaiming a second international decade of the world's indigenous people to commence on 1st January 2005. The Under Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs was appointed as the coordinator of the second decade, and a voluntary fund was established as a successor to the already existing voluntary fund of the first decade. Prior to the declaration of the first decade, the year 1993 was declared as the first International Year of Indigenous People. When in 1993, the UN World Conference on Human Rights in Vienna recommended the declaration of a decade of indigenous people 1995 to 2004. The goal set was to strengthen international cooperation for the solution of the problem faced by indigenous people in the areas of human rights, culture, environment, development, education and health. The theme of the decade was Indigenous People Partnership in Action. The main objectives of the first decade were setting up of a forum for indigenous people within the UN, the development of activities by specialized agencies of the UN system and other intergovernmental and national agencies that benefit indigenous people. Secondly, the education of indigenous and non-indigenous societies concerning the cultures, language, rights and aspiration of indigenous people. Fourthly, the promotion and protection of the rights of indigenous people and the implementation of all the recommendations concerning indigenous people adopted by all high-level international conferences, and lastly, the adoption of the draft declaration on the rights of indigenous people and the development of international standards and national legislation to protect and promote indigenous people's human rights. The question obviously is why the need of declaring the second consecutive international decade of the world's indigenous people? Were the objectives of the first decade unfulfilled, necessitating thereby declaration of the second? So, in the resolution of the first decade, the General Assembly had requested the Secretary General to appoint the Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights as the coordinator of the decade and established the voluntary fund to assist the funding of projects and programs which could promote the goals of the International Decade of the world's indigenous people. In its resolution, the General Assembly appointed the High Commission for Human Rights as coordinator of the decade. In its resolution of 23rd December 1994, the General Assembly had adopted the short-term program of activities for 1995. So, the comprehensive program of activities was adopted by the General Assembly in its resolution of 21st December 1995. The General Assembly also authorized the establishment of the voluntary fund for the international decade for the purpose of financing projects and programs during the decade. The UN Commission on Human Rights Draft Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, as revised by the members of the Working Group on Indigenous Population, seeks to promote right to diversity, equality, freedom, development in accordance with their own needs and interests, recognition to their rights to their lands, territories and resources which derive from their cultures, spiritual traditions, histories and philosophies, as well as from their political, economic and social structures. There is also a mandate for the indigenous people organizing themselves, respect for indigenous knowledge and practices for sustainable development and management of the environment, human rights and right to self-determination. In April 2000, the Commission on Human Rights adopted a resolution to establish the UN Permanent Forum of Indigenous Issues, which was endorsed by the Economic and Social Council in resolution of 28 July 2000. The mandate of the Permanent Forum was to discuss indigenous issues related to culture, economic and social development, education, the environment, health and human rights. Several national governments have also passed specific laws on the rights and special identities of indigenous people and their right to ownership over their traditional lands. The UN General Assembly, by its resolution, decided to celebrate the International Day of the World's Indigenous People on 9th August every year during the International Decade of the World's Indigenous People. In 2004, the Assembly proclaimed a second international decade. The goal of this decade is to further strengthen international cooperation for the solution of the problems faced by indigenous people in such areas as culture, education, health, human rights, the environment and social and economic development. Now let us look at the what is ILO Convention 107 of 1957. The ILO Convention of 107 of 1957 was adopted by International Labour Organization on 5th June 1957. It was a mandate for the protection and integration of the indigenous and other tribal and semi-tribal populations in independent countries. It affirms that all human beings have the right to pursue both their material well-being and their spiritual development in conditions of freedom and dignity, of economic security and equal opportunity. It was also a mandate for improving the living and working conditions of these populations by simultaneous action in respect of all the factors which have prevented them from sharing fully in the progress of the national community. This convention was meant for members of tribal or semi-tribal populations in independent countries whose social and economic conditions were at a less advanced stage than the stage reached by the other sections of the national community and whose status was regulated wholly or partially by their own customs or traditions or by special laws or regulations. The convention is also meant for the members of tribal or semi-tribal population in independent countries which were regarded as indigenous on account of their descent from the populations which inhabited the country or a geographical region to which the country belongs at the same time of conquest or colonization, and irrespective of their legal status lived more in a conformity with the social, economic and cultural institutions of that time than with the institutions of the nation to which they belong to. Now let us look at various articles which are dealing with the indigenous people. Articles 2 to 5 deal with the protection and integration of these populations with the national communities. These envisage promotion and integration of the matters in terms of socio-cultural change and exclusion. These also promote enhancement of the living standard of these people. Article 3 deals with the right to citizenship of these populations without discrimination. Article 4 deals with the protection of cultural and religious value of these people. Articles 7 to 10 provide with the legal matters of these people that include protection of customary laws, customs and institutions, practice of social control and prevention from detentions and also rehabilitation rather than confinement of prison. Articles 11 to 14 deal with the matters concerned with the land of these people that include right to ownership of land, individual or collective transmission of rights of ownership and use of land and land grabbing, land alienation and displacement. Article 15 deals with the employment of the indigenous people. It also deals with the discrimination of these people in the offices, institutions and equal remuneration for the work. This article also promotes for the security of these people in the offices they work. Articles 16 to 18, this promotes vocational training and preservation and protection of their handicrafts, industries including technologies. As these enable them to transcend their economic standards, these articles also deal with the market of their knowledge. These articles encourage them to increase respect for their craft, knowledge, technologies, artistic values that show their cultural expressions and epitomes. Articles 19 to 20 deal with the social security of indigenous people along with promoting their health standards through providing adequate health services. And Articles 21 to 26 deal with the development of their education and means of communication through various methods such as promotion of mother tongues, vernacular language, utilization of primary education and translation of other languages to the mother tongue. Finally, Articles 27 to 37 deal with the administration of these people and duties of the member countries. Now let us look into the ILO Convention 169 of 1989. The ILO Convention 169 of 1989 is the revised version of the Convention 107 of 1957. The ILO adopted this in the conference held on 7th June 1989 at Geneva. It was adopted with a view to remove the assimilationist orientation of the previous convention. It was made with a particular view to recognize the aspirations of these people to exercise control over their own institutions. The idea was also to decide for themselves the way of life, economic development, maintain and develop their identities, language and religions within the framework of the states in which they live. The view also protect their fundamental rights, law, values, customs and so on. Further, it called for the contribution of indigenous and tribal people to the cultural diversity and social and ecological harmony of mankind and to international cooperation and understandings. As many as 44 articles were amended in the convention on different aspects. This convention was applied to tribal people in independent countries whose social, cultural and economic conditions distinguish from other sections of the national community and whose status is regulated wholly or partially by their own customs or traditions or by special laws and regulations. People in independent countries who are regarded as indigenous on account of their descent from their population which inhabited the country or geographical regions to which the country belonged at the time of conquest or colonization or the establishment of present state boundaries, and who irrespective of their legal status retain some or all of their social, economic, cultural and political institutions. Now let us look at the articles which were amended in the convention on different aspects. Firstly, the preservation of cultural rights and identity. For this, from Article 2 to 5, deal with promotion of socio-political and economic rights of the people. Then preservation of value system. Articles 2 to 5 deal with the preservation and respect of the identity and cultural traditions and customs of the indigenous and tribal people. Then other articles like the protection of environment and territory, the articles 4 and 7. These articles deal with the protection of the environment and the territories these people inhabit. And there are also various other articles 3, 4, 7 which deals with no discrimination, freedom, self-determination, and it deals with issues concerning freedom of the people and stopping all forms of discrimination of these people. Then articles 9 to 12, human rights. So these articles deal with the legal aspects in relation to indigenous people such as atrocities, punishment, prison and so on. And articles 13 to 19 deal with the issues concerning land rights, land alienation, forced displacement, rehabilitations, relocation and public inquiries in these matters, compensations, land transformation and so on. These also deal with forest rights of these people, including common property resources. The common property resources what we discussed in the Unit 3 from Block 2. Then Article 20 specifically deals with employment that includes their respect, promotion, remuneration, occupational safety and benefits irrespective of the sex. Articles 21 to 23 deal with providing vocational trainings to these people so as to promote their economic livelihood and income. These also encourage them to respect and provide training for these people regarding the development and marketization of their handicrafts and industries. Article 24 to 25 deal with the health and social security of the indigenous people. These also ensure adequate health facilities, its delivery and utilization in the area they inhabit. These also deal with the cooperation with these people in matter of their traditional healthcare practices and traditional medicines. Article 26 to 31, it deals with promotion of education among the indigenous people in addressing their needs, socio-economic aspirations and formulation, implementation and evaluation of the programs meant to develop their education. These encourage them to preserve the indigenous language and promotes its use in their educational institutions. Article 32 of the Convention deals with the issues of the protection of indigenous people inhabiting on border areas and their socio-cultural, economic and other needs. Articles 33 deals with the administration of the indigenous people. Finally, Articles 34 to 44 deal with the provisions, administration and the duties of the concerned member countries. So learners, I hope you would have carefully listened to the video. Please go through the material. This topic is very important on international conventions and covenants. Thank you.